Hey, GW, coming to you live once again. Hey, listen, first of all, I'm glad everybody's digging a new format. The other thing I want to talk about is that did y'all ever see Basket Case? They made three of these pictures. This was about a boy and his brother, and they were born deformed. And brother was growing out of the side of the kid. It was pretty wild. But it was put out by Something Weird Video. There's three of them. They were big in the 80s. And they were filmed on a very loose shoestring budget. I'm talking maybe 200, 300 bucks. The effects in this movie aren't that great, but there is something about this movie. I mean, it strives to be something. But the special effects are pretty much horrible. So if you're looking for a good laugh or something just strange to watch, y'all should check out Basket Case. But this movie talk episode is about one movie in particular, and it, to this day, I don't think any remake or any sequel could justify being better than the original. And I'm talking about 1984's The Hitcher. Now, if you guys have not seen this, this thing is crazy. It stars C. Thomas Howell. He was big in the 80s. He put out another movie called Soul Men where he turned black to get a Harvard GED or something like that. It was pretty cool. And Rutger Hauer. Now, Rutger Hauer made a couple of straight-to-video movies. One of them was pretty awesome. It was called Blind Fury. I think you guys should check it out. Another one was called Split Second, where he has to hunt down an alien creature. And he had a split second to shoot the thing. It was pretty cool. Jennifer Jason Leigh. She was pretty hot in the 80s. But anyway, what this film is about Jim Halsey, who's played by C. Thomas Howell. He's on his way home. It's a rainy night, stormy, right? He picks up a hitchhiker. As soon as he picks up the hitchhiker, Rutger Hauer, they never really give you a name, I don't think, for him. They just call him or the psycho. I don't think they do, but if they do, I'm wrong. But there's a car up ahead as soon as he picks Rutger Hauer up that, needs assistance. And Rutger Hauer's character tells him, fly past it with a knife against his throat. Because, well, they've already been killed by Rutger Hauer. This thing is a very, very intense thriller. And honestly, for being a film of 1984, really brings it. I mean, there is things in here that you rarely ever see. And Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell, they keep this tension going. There's actually a scene where Jennifer Jason Leigh is tied between two semi-trucks. You've got to see it. You cannot walk out on this movie because the minute you do, you're going to miss something. It was directed by Robert Harmon, put out by HBO Video. All I can say, guys, is if you haven't seen this, this thing will knock your socks off. And I don't know if you could classify this as a thriller or a horror picture. But the New York Post said about this film that it's hair-raising, gut-wrenching, a heart-stopping journey into hell that combines every terrifying tale about hitchhikers in one dark, diabolical, unnerving adventure. It will leave you so frightened you won't want to stop. And to tell you the truth, that guy is actually right. After seeing this, maybe helping somebody isn't your best option. Now, Hollywood being Hollywood, they decided to remake this film for the 90s crowd, the 2000 crowd. This stars actress Sophia Bush. If you don't know her, I suggest you check out Chicago PD, the older ones. She's pretty awesome. And Zachary Knighton. I don't know him, but they take that particular story, they kick it up, they add adrenaline to it, and it becomes a little bit more gory. Now, this is the remake. It's okay. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's cool. It's done by the people that did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Rogue Pictures. It was directed by Dave Meyers. Let's see. It's an hour and 24 minutes. So this runs a little bit longer than this one, I believe. This one doesn't say. 98 minutes. So this one's actually longer, guys. Now, Hollywood being Hollywood. By the way, this is not a bad film. I'm just saying that it's very interesting. It takes what the original had and pumped adrenaline to it. And it's by no means a failure. Just wanted to clarify that. So watch these two. Now, Hollywood being Hollywood had also released a Hitcher 2 called I've Been Waiting with Gary Busey. I didn't like that film because it tried to do so many things. I mean, it's not a bad film again, but you guys need to check it out. Now, the first time I saw this, the original, I was hooked. I said, holy shit, like, for 1984 and being a horror film, they really brought it. You know what I'm saying? So those are two movies you should check out. This one is still in print, and I believe this one is the original. An original copy. I think they put out an anniversary edition of this. I'm not really sure. But the weird thing about this movie is when you watch it, you go into it thinking, it's just going to be stupid. By the end of the movie, you're like, that was one of the greatest thrillers I've ever seen. So definitely give that one a look if you want to. I recommend it highly. And Rutger Hauer's Psychopath is amazing. He truly makes you scared to be in a car. How many actors could say that? That being said, I want to talk about one of the more terrifying films I have ever seen, and it almost kept me up for 2 days, and I'm talking about The Strangers. Now, Liv Tyler's in this, and if you guys have not seen this thing is brutal and creepy to death. I mean, honest to God. It's about two couples that come home from a wedding, or a couple that comes home from a wedding, that are just getting situated. They're getting ready to go to bed. There's a knock at the door. Answers it, there's no one. They go back to doing what they're doing. There's a knock on the door again. Here, it's a little girl in a burlap mask. And she is part of a group of killers called the Strangers. And they torment them all through the night. And this film gets under your skin, guys. I'm not going to lie. But they have to survive the night. One of the most chilling lines in horror history comes out of this film. As Liv Tyler's tied up to a chair, bloody and beaten, she asks one of the killers why they're doing this. You know what their reply was? Because you're home. That right there, as soon as I said that to you guys, I got a shockwave down my back. All I can say this thing is, if you haven't seen this thing, it will not only get under your skin, it will make you afraid to be in a house by yourself. I'm not going to lie. And let's look at the stats on this movie, shall we? This is the rated R and unrated versions. Now, the unrated version runs about 2 more minutes longer than the unrated cut. So there's probably a little gore or maybe an alternate scene. In this movie, Liv Tyler's couple, her boyfriend's played by Scott Speedman. Killers, they don't really tell you who the killers are. It was put out again by Rogue Pictures. Rogue Pictures had a habit of dabbling in diabolical cinema. Now, what's interesting to this is that this was just going to be a standalone movie. And 2 years ago, they actually made a sequel, which I thought was pretty much worked a little better. But I'm going to show you that, guys, right now. I can find it. And we found it. Strangers, Pray at Night. Now, I wasn't, like I said, the first one scared the living shit out of me, and I still, to this day, have a hard time watching it. This one takes that formula, kicks it up, and almost turns it into a hyper-action movie. Because in this film, which I think is done a lot better, the killers are now in an abandoned trailer park. And basically, they have killed everybody in the place, and they're just sitting there chilling around, right? And a family goes to stay with a relative there. They end up meeting the strangers, and it's a cat and mouse game. I do not think there'll be a Strangers 3 after this, and you'll see why. There is an amazing death scene in here where one of the victims gets stabbed in the pool to a song. I think it's called Total Eclipse of the Heart. It is really well done and very, very, what's the word I want to look for? It's very, pretty wicked the way that it goes down. Now, Joanna Roberts directed this film. If you don't know her, I suggest you check out the diving thriller 47 Meters Down. That was released this year too, the year that this was released. It features Christina Hendricks, Bailey Madison. Bailey Madison is awesome in this, and if you guys haven't seen her, she is one of the survivors. She is great. Martin Henderson and Lewis Pullman. Now, being that this was a little bit newer than this has Prep for Night, music video, director's cut, a look inside, the family fights back, and the music of Strangers 2. Now, this one, like I said, is a much better film than the original, but the original does set the tone. What this one lacks, though, is creepiness, because you know these people are there, you know they're out there, so it's not a mystery. But again, very good film. So if you're looking for two great horror films, of the 1990s and 2000s, check out The Strangers. But I cannot tell you enough about The Hitcher. The Hitcher is one of the best thrillers you guys will ever see. And that's 1984, Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. I think it was an HBO original movie, too. Anyway, Movie Talk episode 5 now in the books. And I just wanted to thank everybody for watching. And like I said, if you're looking for something really, really off the wall, check the Basket Case movies out. Because, hey, very strange. I watched the first one last weekend after I cut this, promo for you guys. It's corny, campy, and it has a heart. But the problem is that the special effects were not there. I think if you want to make Basket Case a really good film, you get maybe a $50,000 budget, you go back in, you redo it. So that's what I would do. That's what should be done. Anyway, speaking of horror, I'm going to mention one last thing, and then I am going to call it. I had recently seen commercials for the new remake of the Child's Play films. I really don't know how that's going to play out. It looks like a rehash of the very first film. And Brad Dourif, who has done the voice of Chucky forever, by the way, guys, is not going to be doing it. It's going to be Mark Hamill. So Luke Skywalker will now front the voice of Chucky. The only thing that worries me is I think this thing might be dead at the box office because everybody's synonymous with, like I said, Brad Dourif's character. They're familiar with Andy Barclay. And if you haven't seen the Child's Play saga, basically it's about a kid, Andy Barclay, whose mom buys him a good guy doll. And before buying it, a serial killer is shot in a toy store. His name's Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, who puts a spirit into the doll of Chucky. Chucky's only way back to the human world is to what? Steal a soul, and he targets Andy Barclay for the first two films. And then in the third film, he targets another kid, and Andy Barclay has to come help. Now, Andy Barclay's character was not in the fourth, fifth, or sixth film. I believe the seventh or eighth, I don't think he made an appearance. However, that being said, Child Play looks like a good updated version, but whether or not it's going to do any good, I don't know. I mean, I had doubts about the Halloween remake. I know some reviews ago, guys, I told you that I didn't think it was going to work. But you know what? I watched that film too, and it was pretty cool. So I'm just kind of curious to see what Child's Play will do at the box office. And I bet you they've added more gore. Now, if you go back to the original film and you watch that, the effects, some of those effects have never been done on, camera before. And it was pretty cool. And it was actually a mystery. You knew what you were getting into with the second or third film, but the first film had some sort of mystique to it. Because it also combined horror and a little bit of voodoo. So I'm going to keep an eye on this Child's Play thing. But again, if you're looking for the originals, the first three are pretty awesome. First one, like I said, sets up the tone. Second one the ending scene, the ending climax is set in a toy factory, which is pretty sweet. And the third one is set at at a military academy. And Chucky has all kinds of fun there. Squares off against a sergeant named Botnick. I mean, it's pretty cool. But again, Chucky's one of those monsters that you love, but you're not really terrified of because, he's what, 2 feet tall? Come on, guys. But anyway, check that out. I just wanted to let people know. But also, too, if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone or a VR or something or other, they did release the Child's Play VR, mobile video. I haven't checked it out yet, but I heard it's pretty cool. And that's about all the talk we're going to do, guys, because you know what? I shoot these things at like 4:30 in the morning, sometimes 3:30. So I'd like to get this all out. Tomorrow, we'll talk about some more movies. We'll keep it going. And we're just having a blast, like I said, Joe Bob Briggs style. So that's GW. I'm GW. Movie talk in the books. See you later.